Search engine optimization, or SEO, is something that lots of people talk about, and yet it's very, very difficult and often very expensive for a lot of MSPs to get it right. Now, it's certainly one of those marketing channels where you can spend thousands and thousands of pounds or dollars and see very little return. My guest today has some very sensible answers for you, including why you'll never rank for a common term like data backup, but with a small adjustment, you can dominate your local area for it. Also, the big updates that Google has already made this year, and a smart way to build SEO articles using ChatGPT. Hey, I'm Paul Green, and don't forget, for all the content, tools and training to market and grow your MSP, check out MSPmarketingedge.com. Today's big interview is with an SEO expert.
Hi, my name is Raj Khera, and I make SEO easy for MSPs.
And that's a beautifully simple explanation of what it is that you do. And I hope that in the next 5-10 minutes or so that you and I, Raj, we can figure out a way that any MSP with any marketing ability, whether it's bad or brilliant, can use SEO to generate more leads. That's what we're trying to do. Tell us a bit about you. How did you get into the wonderful world of SEO, and what kind of fun have you had along the way?
So I'm actually an electrical engineer by training. That's what I have my college degrees in. And I worked as an engineer for many years. And I got the itch to start my own company. This was a long time ago. It was during the dot-com boom days. And since then, I've built 3 companies, sold them to public companies in 8-figure exits. And the way I grew these businesses was through search engine optimization, even before that was a term. Didn't know that was what we were doing when we were adding content and tagging it in such ways that Google and other tools would find us. But that's what happened. And so now I help other companies get that same kind of success by identifying specific terms that make a lot of sense for people who want to find them and then buy from them.
So my experience of SEO is fairly limited. It's a very technical subject, and I think you have to beware anyone that says they're an SEO expert unless they're there doing it every day, every week, which I know that you are. In fact, I was just telling you before this interview that about, it must be getting on for 7 years ago now, a friend of mine bought an SEO agency and he was flipping it. He was selling it on to another company. And I went to run that company for 6 weeks and I was completely baffled. It was, even though I'd got there were about 30 people in that business trying to teach me search engine optimization. I certainly picked up the basics from it, but I remember sitting down one day and having a conversation about, what was it? It was this very specific term. I can't even remember what the term was, and this guy tried 4 or 5 different ways to explain to me what it was that he did, and I didn't understand it. And he was quite keen that the stand-in managing director understood why his job was necessary. Stituals or something like that. I can't remember. It was some obscure term. So I would imagine that most of the people that you work with, they want the end results of the SEO. They want more traffic, they want more appointments. But are they particularly interested in the ins and outs of the technicalities of SEO?
So what I find is that SEO is oftentimes misunderstood, and your experience is actually similar to what a lot of people have. There's a misconception about what SEO was and what it is today, and especially given all of the AI technologies that are out there now, a lot of people are thinking that they can just go to ChatGPT, type in a prompt, and get an article and post it. Well, what happened on March 5th this year, Google slammed, I should say whacked, all of those companies that were only using AI-generated content. So the game has completely changed. There are a lot of very good ways to use AI and SEO, and that's what I teach and I coach my clients on. Now, I'll give you several tips on ways people can use it now, but first, identifying the keyword term is very important. I'll give you an example. Almost every MSP I talk to would love to be found on the term data backup. Well, it turns out that's one of the worst terms you can pursue. And here's why. If you go to Google and you type in the term data backup, the companies that get listed on the top 10, maybe even 20, are companies like Barracuda, Enable, all of the vendors that we use to actually provide those data backup services. You're not going to unseat one of those companies. You actually don't know if someone types data backup thinking that they want to back up their iPhone. What you really want is data backup for business or data backup services. And so simply by optimizing your page with that additional word, data backup services, you increase the chances that you'll get actually ranked for a term that is what people would consider a buying intent term. Let me add to that. If you're local to a specific city, just by adding your city name can help narrow down that focus too. So for example, I live in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. So if I had a search term like if I pursued a search term like data backup services, Silver Spring, Maryland, Montgomery County, Fairfax, Virginia, all of the suburbs of Washington, D.C., that gives me a much higher chance of getting ranked, and not just ranked, but also ranked for the people who are searching who might actually want to buy my services.
And is that because they're actually putting in those town names or those suburb names into their search, or is it because Google knows exactly where they are and therefore it's trying to provide them with local answers to the problem that they're searching for?
That's a great question, Paul. It's a combination of both. Google also looks to see where you are physically located. And one of the best ways to do that is in the footer of your website, put a Google map. You can easily grab the code, just do a quick Google search on how do I add a Google map to my webpage, and you can just grab the code. They'll just stick it on your website. So that's one thing. What Google does for location services is they'll take a look at the person doing the search and see what their proximity is to you. So that's one certain thing that certainly plays a role. But there are a lot of people actually typing in the city name when they do a search. So if you type in data backup Boca Raton, Florida, you'll find that instead of data backup, which gets maybe hundreds or thousands of searches, you might get maybe 50 to 100 searches in a single month for people looking for that specific term. But the people that are looking for that term are the ones you want to be talking to. And that's why adding your city name is a very simple way to get a little bit of extra SEO juice on your website.
Got it. So what you're trying to say is there's no point trying to compete for something that 50,000 people a week are searching for, because yours is not the answer they're really looking for. Instead, you're better off competing for something that maybe 50 people a week are looking for. And yes, your kind of business is exactly what they want. Now, in terms of the tools of SEO, so I think the vast majority of people who've done any kind of Googling on it will know that, as you say, you need to create content, you need to have backlinks, you need to do things like be clear on your keywords. Which of those things, and I appreciate them. Let's give the caveat that we're filming this we're recording this in May 2024, and I add that caveat because this isn't going out for a few months, and I know the whole world of SEO can change very, very quickly. But right now, what are the sort of the factors that are most important? Is it about the content? Is it about the backlinks? Or is it all of these things working together?
At the end of the day, the backlinks are going to be one of the biggest factors that influence how quickly you get ranked on certain pages. Now, the thing about that is Google looks at the quality of your content as well. And if your content is really, really strong, you automatically start getting backlinks from other people who are writing blogs or other things that start pointing to you. And Google looks at that as a level of authority for your site. So it has a whole bunch of factors that it looks at in terms of ranking. And you're right, that certainly changes over time. But I'll give you a few quick strategies. So the number one thing is to identify the right keywords. There's several tools to do this. The one I use is SEMrush. There's others like Ahrefs, SpyFu. There's quite a few of them. And then there's also one that every single person watching this podcast or listening in uses, but you might not realize that you can actually use it for SEO. And it's Google's auto suggest. So when you go and you type a search term on Google and it starts giving you things that you might be looking for, it's doing that based on data. And so if you just type in one letter, next letter, and just let it continue to give you some guidance on certain terms, you'll actually get a whole bunch of data-driven terms that you could include in the article that you write about. Now, there's another technique that you could use too, and that's type in the full term and then go to the search results page. On it, Google will show you another section called People Also Ask. Now, watch what happens when you click on that. If you click on any one of the responses for People Also Ask, to show what the answer is, and then you click again to retract the answer, Google will have updated the list of questions. And it does that again based on data because it's trying to figure out what is your intent for searching on that specific term. And the more of these questions that you start to display, you'll probably be able to look at them and say, oh, I could answer that question. I could answer that. And then what you do is you take that question and you make that a section heading in your article that you're writing and just answer it in your own words. It suddenly makes getting the data a lot easier. But again, the real hardcore way to do it is to do it with all these special tools. And in fact, what I've done is done a lot of the research for MSPs. I know hundreds of keywords that are very good for you to get ranked on and strategies to get ranked on them and sub keywords and related keywords that you put into clusters. There's a whole science behind this. And I've actually put all of that into a course that I have that's designed just for SEO for MSPs. And so once you do all of that gathering of the data, the keywords that you want to use, then you can start putting your article together. And I have a suggestion on how to write the article because if you're anything like me, if someone tells you to write an article, it could be 5-6 months before you get an article back. Nobody likes writing. It's very time consuming. But if I said, hey, can I have a conversation with you about this topic? You could probably say, yeah, you're a subject matter expert. It's very easy to have a 10-minute conversation. So what you do is you go into something like ChatGPT, or there's several other tools, Google Gemini, there's other models too, and you can type in a nice prompt that says, I'm looking to do an article on this topic. Prepare an outline with me on this and include some of the talking points that I should use. And then it will just come back and spit out an outline that you can look at and then just click record. Could do like a one-person Zoom, just yourself, and click record and just start answering those questions. So suddenly what happens is the whole idea of writing an article kind of gets a lot easier because you've actually created content just by talking to your computer. You take the transcript, and then that's a lot easier to farm out to a writer who's usually not a subject matter expert, and they can actually produce the content for you. Or there's additional prompts you can use for ChatGPT to take your transcript, which is your thoughts, not regurgitated content that it just comes up with on its own from the training data, and then actually create an article based on that. And then when you pepper in your keywords, everything kind of comes together. And I've actually had clients rank page one very quickly. I've got several clients that are in the top 5 within 2 months of putting articles out. Some of them, even one of them recently just debuted at number 2 on Google for a pretty good search term for her locality. And so this stuff works. I've kind of condensed it into a really quick soundbite here, but there's a bit more to it. But when you apply that strategy, it can really work well for you.
No, it's really good. And you mentioned about using ChatGPT. I think that's a great way of using it. I have a friend called Andrew. He's not in the channel. He's like a consultant. In fact, he consults on AI to big, slow companies that are struggling to start to use it. And one of his ways, he writes an article a day, is he actually gets ChatGPT on his iPhone to interview him. So he'll set out what he's trying to achieve. I'm trying to achieve an article. I want it to be about this subject. I want you to interview me. Some of the areas I want you to interview me about are this. But it makes ChatGPT the interviewer, who then interviews him and then writes the article. And he obviously, as you say, he goes and edits it afterwards. So there's humans involved right at the beginning, the middle, and the end of that. And he gets he outputs some fantastic content, and he can do it while he's driving, because that's when he actually chats to ChatGPT. Final question for you, Raj, which is, as an SEO expert and someone who lives and breathes SEO, and we kind of alluded to this earlier, do you kind of wake up the occasional Thursday morning and you switch on your computer and it says a surprise Google update, and Google has introduced, back in the day they used to call them things like the Penguin update, didn't they, and the Panda update and something like that. I don't think they have cute names for them anymore, but I imagine your whole world can change just like that.
It can. And that's something you have to really be tuned into. And if anybody's listening and would like to get updated information on a regular basis, just go look me up on LinkedIn. I'm going to be the first Raj Khera that you find. Just click to follow me. And I'm happy to send you, you'll automatically get my newsletter every 2 weeks on SEO updates that are going on, things that you need to be paying attention to. So again, my whole role here is to make SEO a lot more accessible and easy to digest and understand and actually implement. So yes, but you're absolutely right, Paul. That happened on March 5th. It happened again on May 4th this year when Google made some massive updates. They don't have any announced updates coming up, but you never know what's going to happen around the corner. Yeah. So yeah, you got to stay tuned in.
It's almost like a product manager wakes up one morning and thinks, right, let's just change something just to keep everyone on their toes. Thank you, Raj. I'm definitely going to subscribe to your LinkedIn newsletter, because you can never have too many sources of good quality SEO, and specifically MSP related SEO as well. Now, you mentioned earlier that you have a course on SEO for MSPs. Tell us a little bit about that, and also what's a good way to get in touch with you.
They can go to my website, morebusiness.com, or just send an email to me, raj@morebusiness.com. It's RAJ. But the best way is actually just go to LinkedIn, just type in my name, Raj Khera, on LinkedIn, or you could just type it into Google. I'll be the first person that pops up anyway. And so not too many of us named this around, so easy to reach me. And I will always respond to any kind of LinkedIn emails that I get.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.